بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. One of the great ability that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bestow on the believer to be able to understand, to be able to strive so he can or she can come near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is as-sam'u. Imagine, subhanallah, how many people they used to listen to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They listened to him. قَالَ وَمِنْهُمْ مَن يَسْتَمِعُ إِلَيْكَ. So among them those who listen to the Prophet, to the reminder of the Prophet, knowing his greatness sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not really, because if they did, they would have truly venerate him and supported him and believed in him. But subhanallah, they listen to the Prophet. It's like listen to reminder, listen to a scholar, listen to one's advice of their parents, or listen to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال وَمِنْهُمْ مَن يَسْتَمِعُونَ إِلَيْكَ أَفَأَنْتَ تُسْمِعُ الصُّمَّ وَلَوْ كَانُوا لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. And many of them, and some of them, they're listening to you, but are you able to make them subhanallah comprehend, to make them understand, to make them listen to what you're telling them? Why? Because there's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helping us to understand, or instructing us, teaching us that there's between the listening and comprehending and thinking is one channel. So if this listening is blocked, you cannot comprehend, you cannot understand, then you will be following your path, not the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. The people, subhanallah, of hellfire, when they're going to be cast in hellfire, what they're going to say? يقولون لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا من أصحاب السعير. We wish we have the ability to listen and to comprehend, to reason. If we did, we would not have been from the people of hellfire. وَمِنْهُمْ مَن يَسْتَمِعُ إِلَيْكَ. We just read it. وَجَعَلْنَا عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ. Some of them, they listen, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them to put, like subhanallah, a cover on their heart. So you cannot listen. For this reason, there is people, when they listen to the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are disgusted, truly. وَمِنْهُمْ قَالَ وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ عِنْدَهُ اشْمَأَزَّتْ قُلُوبُ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ. Allah said it in Surah Zumar. However, the true believer, when the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned, their heart trembles. وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. So when we have been saying, trying to help ourselves to increase our iman and take advantage of the blessing of Ramadan, there's this very important thing. Because the Bani Israel, they listened to the Musa, but what they did, قالوا عصينا, with their action. So you have to put yourself in which category you're going to be. You want to be in a category, of course, سمعت وأطعت. However, you might be from those who say, I hear and I disobey. Not really, I hear and obey. Why? Because you have something that not allowing you to understand what you're listening. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He defined ulil albab, who are the people of reasoning, who are the people of understanding, قال الذين يستمعون القول ويتبعون أحسنه. Those who listen to the words, to the reminder, to the Quran, to the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ, and then they follow the best of it, which is mean how to implement it in their life to give them the best ability of living the way of the Iman. To live the way of the Iman. So therefore, when we're talking about listening, it's something that we need to pay attention for it. Because we might have something inside us blocking this ability of listening and comprehending. Because when you listen to the Quran, and it does not have any impact on us, it does not resonate. So Imam al-Ghazali has a beautiful saying. He said, if you listen to the Quran that much and you do not cry, then you have to cry on yourself that the fact that you do not cry, because your heart is dead. So this is a fact, this is reality. So then if someone say, how I'm going to treat that? You say, there is something inside you that's blocking the ability of listening. You don't want to come in the day of judgment and you'll be like those that Allah mentioned in Surah Tabarak, لو كنا نسمع ونعقل ما كنا في أصحاب. You don't want to be that. And today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إن في ذلك لذكرى لمن كان له قلب أو ألقى السمع وهو شهيد. This is a great reminder for those who has a heart. If you do not have a heart still, a heart of Iman, a heart that really, subhanAllah, is influenced, that has ta'thir, when he listens, he resonates, there is khushu', there is trembling in it. If you do not have that heart, we don't have it, all of us yet, inshaAllah, we'll have it by the 10 Ashr al-Awakhir. So when you work on that, you have to get that bridge toward that heart. قال ألقى السمع وهو شهيد. You pay attention when you listen. You pay attention when you listen. And then you make it as a ibadah, as a worship of السمع. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إذا قرئ القرآن فاستمعوا له وأنصتوا. استمعوا. Listen. And listen, what happened, that there are things that blocking inside. So what is blocking? There are three aspects to block. Let's say put them into. The first one is when the desire is, subhanAllah, overwhelming you. When the desire is your guide. Then, when you listen to the reminder, it does not have any effect. Why? Because you don't have anything to link with what you're listening. When someone say, Ya Allah, or someone remind you with Allah, there's nothing inside to link with it. Then it goes, subhanAllah, enter from here and go out from the other side. So someone is like standing as a body, but not listening. And that's why, because people, they have their dreams, they have their daily life, they have their things, they're busy. And all, subhanAllah, what is taking all their mind, or those, subhanAllah, their way of thinking, or their thinking, nothing have to do with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, the listening is going to be impossible. قال وإذا خرجوا من عندك قال ويستمعون إليك. They're listening to you, but when they left, they start to plot of something else. Like they were not with the Prophet ﷺ. It's like they didn't, subhanAllah, listen what he said. But the companion, Ridwanullahi ta'ala, when they listen, they go and they implement it right away. Actually, they accuse themselves, like Hamdallah, when he's by the Prophet ﷺ, he's listening so attentively, and then his iman, he feel like flying with iman, if this is a correct word to say. And then when he goes home, he'll find with the children things, and he feel like distracted. He said, Alhamdulillah, he's hypocrite. I am good with the Prophet outside. When I'm far from the Prophet ﷺ, it's like, I'm distracted. I don't feel what I feel by the Prophet ﷺ. So then he wants, like, really, subhanAllah, sad, worrying, grieving this situation, very hurt in his back, going to the Prophet ﷺ to really, like, subhanAllah, to complain what he has in his heart, and to say, like, Ya Rasulullah, I am a munafiq, I am a hypocrite, I am not a believer. In his way, he saw Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. Tell him, what happened to you, Alhamdulillah? He said, Alhamdulillah, nafiq, I'm a hypocrite. He said, why? And he told him the story. He said, if you are a munafiq, then all of us, we are munafiq. Let's go to the Prophet ﷺ. Then when they came to the Prophet and he told him his story, he told him, yeah, Alhamdulillah, if you stay with me, and you stay outside the way you are with me, then at that time the angel will come and shake your hands. قال وقت ووقت. This is time you are with the Prophet ﷺ. And the other are, subhanAllah, time. That's the balance. But to see, subhanAllah, as an example, when someone in focus and devotion, he feels or she feels herself in totally different dimension. And this is how you're going to be able to drive or draw for yourself what we call halawat al-iman, the sweet. How are you going to feel the sweetness of the iman? To understand what the meaning of true happiness. Because if you didn't yet taste the sweetness of the iman, you do not know the meaning of the happiness. Therefore, someone will be always in quest or running behind the happiness that described to us in the media, or in the faces that laughing of the people who like fames and everything, and people, they think that's the happiness. No. If you taste the sweetness of iman into your sujood, when you are talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will understand the meaning of the happiness that the Salihin used to describe. Because some of them, he said, if we only will have in the Jannah the sweetness of Iman we have today is enough for us. Is enough for us. The second thing that is really blocking our ability to listen and comprehend is how, subhanAllah, we cause ourselves to be worrying and anxious. Because as we have mentioned yesterday, the munafiqeen in Ghazwat Uhud, أهمتهم أنفسهم. They were like talking about something, nothing have to do with the reality. Allah has all the matter on His hands, so trust Him, you will feel good. But if you want to rely on yourself, that subhanallah, you are open a gate of subhanallah, of hurt, of anxiety, of depression, and all those, with no further comment. When someone, subhanallah, for example, all what they think is about the rizq, as example. Rizq, we don't have, we cannot do it. He sallim amrak lillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the one who guaranteed to you that. How? Just believe, just trust. I have someone complaining, and he said, like, for 3 months, I've been like, so he's complaining and complaining. So I asked him a question. I told him, in this 3 months, were you homeless? He said, no. Did you eat all your meals? He said, yes. He said, why are you complaining? He said, Wallahi, you're right. You're right. So some people, subhanAllah, they complain about things, but they already been taken care of. Then they are, subhanAllah, creating humum, and that will be the way for someone who will not be able to listen. And if you want, what is the key, to close this, insha'Allah, Khatira? The key, dear brother, respected sister, is your heart. Your key is your heart. How you heal your heart so you'll be able to listen. The healing of your heart is the love of Allah and His Messenger. The love of Allah. If you truly love of Allah, when you read the Quran, when you think about the gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, when you think about the honoring that He make you believer, when you think the favor that He make you to witness another Ramadan, when you think that He promised you that He will forgive you, when you think that He will guarantee that your provision, when you think that He will give you the blessing to you and your children and subhanAllah, your family and your parents, if you just obey Him, when you just to reflect on His greatness, when you just to reflect on His rahmah, on His hilm, then you start to love Allah. Then subhanAllah, that love will be, subhanAllah, enlightening your heart and destroying all the darkness inside you. Then it's going to create an irada, an intent, and drive to want to please Allah. Then when you go to sujood and you ask in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tears will come down. Why? Because you took that time to reflect, to say, Ya Allah, bestow upon me the gift to love you. That's when you start to listen. That's when you start to listen. Then when a reminder will come, it hit directly into the heart. When someone tell you, stop, Allah told you so, He said, Astaghfirullah. You're not going to say, who are you? أَخَذَتْهُ الْعِزَّةُ بِالْإِثْمِ. That's subhanAllah when we start. Then, how can we make a measure to control ourselves? Let's say to watch ourselves. Look, the love of Allah and His Messenger is going to give you an irada. What is this irada? It's like a willpower to do the good, a willpower to race for the pleasure of Allah. This love of Allah is the one who gives you this ability to listen, so you'll be able to comprehend and then act upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands. Now, look at your irada. Look how much you're driven toward Allah. That is give you the sign, your ability of listening. If that ability or the drive is low, then you cannot comprehend the Quran. You cannot taste the Quran. You cannot, subhanAllah, find the flavor and the beautiful taste of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Why? Because you're not driven toward them. So when you wake up in Fajr, you find yourself, subhanAllah, or anything that you are invited for the sake of Allah, something is pushing you back, know that you are listening, subhanAllah, is blocked, and you might be like the people in hell, wal-iyadu billah, in Surah Tabarak, being pleading and screaming and wishing and regretting that you have the ability of listening. فنسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يطهر قلوبنا وأن يطهر أسماعنا ويجعلنا من عباده المهتدين، يجعلنا من أولي الألباب الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. أولئك الذين هداهم الله وأولئك هم أولو الألباب. أنتم في الصلاة يرحمكم الله.